With our recent announcement of our intent to merge with Plus One X, the growth of IQ Business means that we will soon exceed 1,500 team members. Our journey was inspired by a fellow recipient of the Conscious Companies Awards, who has dedicated his life to help people grow to achieve the highest levels of self-worth, honesty, and excellence by nurturing ideas, dreams, and trust. He is a published author and the Group Integrated Chief Creative Officer of Joe Public. Please welcome Pepe Marais.
Thank you, Adam. I can't see where Brenda is. Thank you, Brenda, for the opportunity and our friendship, and just to share a few words. It's easy nowadays to get our words done by AI, which I did not do this time around, but I did use Google. I want to share a story with you. I was saying earlier on these conferences, this is truly one of the best, one of my highlights of the year. But you always just remember one thing. I call it the Harry Met Sally moment. So hopefully out of today, each of us can walk away with one nugget. But there was a great king whose castle sat high on a mountain overlooking the village he ruled over. He was a decisive, fair leader who served his people to live in peace and harmony for many years. He was respected and deeply loved by all of his people. The villagers all shared water from the same source, a well that sat in the center of their home. One day that well became contaminated with poison, and anyone that drank from the well almost instantly turned completely insane. After only a day or so, all of the villagers had drank the water from the well, and the once harmonious village was then being torn apart by lunatics. The king and his wife did not get their water from the same well that their people drank from, so they were spared from the mass insanity. The king, fearing for the future of his village and the well-being of his people, descended into the chaos, trying desperately to restore order and harmony. But the villagers suddenly refused to listen to their once beloved king. Something was very different about him, and what was once utmost respect turned to judgment and fear. All the villagers agreed that the king has gone crazy. The king was chased back to his castle by the villagers, threatening him that they would tear his castle apart unless he relinquished his crown, because in their view he was no longer seen fit to rule his people in his crazy state of mind. The king was full of despair and resorted to the only possible solution. "What if we go drink from the well?" he said to his wife. "Then we will be the same as them." Seeing no other way out, the king and his wife escaped from the castle and went directly to the well in the village, drinking its poisoned water. Just like everyone else, they almost immediately turned insane. The villagers found the king and his queen and were overcome with joy. Thankfully, the king and queen have come to their senses. They were talking and acting exactly like them. I love this story, and it teaches such a valuable lesson above all, and that is how difficult it is to rise above external challenges and pressures and remain aligned to one's own inner rudder. Remaining aligned to one's own noble purpose is an act that takes a great deal of inner strength, resolve, and daily courage, because it is human of all of us to not want to be an outcast, to rather conform, and through conformity live in harmony, even when this causes disharmony within ourselves. But to conform consciously to an inherently detrimental party, cause, or even ideology is not just wrong on every level, it is actually insane. Paradoxically, the small group of conscious leaders in today's local and global society are actually seen as the crazy ones. because they believe in putting purpose at the top of their business's priority and the bottom line back at the bottom. Conscious leaders are of unsound mind because they preach from their soapboxes that although money is the oxygen of business, they don't wake up every morning thinking they must breathe. They believe that they wake up for far greater purpose beyond product and beyond money. Conscious leaders are clearly insane because they advocate that we should all wake up to give more than we receive. In his profoundly insightful book, The Untethered Soul, which I'm halfway through, author Michael Singer explained the phrase consciousness simply of being aware of one's personal reason for being. And it made me reflect that having the ability to answer the question, who am I? Being aware of my human name and my being name is a phenomenal insight. This idea that we have a human name and a name for our spiritual reason for being is truly powerful, because that spiritual name directs each of us for the reason for being alive right now, the reason for being in this room right now. And for this reason, I want to conclude as an ad man with my favorite piece of copy ever written, which was written for the Apple brand in 1998 when Steve Jobs came back and took reins of that business. And I'm going to dedicate this reading to each of the conscious leaders in this room. Beautifully written, and I absolutely love it. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, like Michael Juden, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some might see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world, like Brenda, are the ones who do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pepe. Do you know how you can spot a crazy one, a misfit, or a troublemaker as they walk towards you? Usually by the color of their socks. It's a giveaway. I challenge you to look at Michael Juden's socks later as well. You'll see.